Good garbage, I would say, is garbage that you throw away and you go back in a month and it's not there anymore.
I would say good garbage is something that doesn't require consumers to have to dispose of it in a certain way.
Hello. Welcome to the Good Garbage Podcast. My name is Ved Krishna. My primary reason for existence has been to find ways to leave our wonderful planet cleaner. We will be speaking with material innovators, creators, and propagators to learn from them how we can build for scale and towards a regenerative future. Their stories will help us answer the big question, what is good garbage? We heard of phade straws through our friend Brad Rogers, who was on the show earlier, and we connected with WinCup, the creators and producers, and both Brad Laporte, the CEO, and Michael Winters, the CRO, decided to join us. This is such a profound conversation in so many ways, as it brings forth so many ideas. It teaches us about a business reinventing itself from a polystyrene producer to an alternative, sustainable material producer, embracing the power of innovation and that of focus, digging deeper into the complexity of operations and efficiencies that Brad lives and breathes, the clarity around product differentiation and marketing, unique ideas that Michael brings forth. This conversation has left me richer and inspired in so many ways, and I'm sure it will do the same for you. Enjoy the show. Hello. I'm so excited today to have Brad Laporte, the CEO, and Michael Winters, the CRO from WinCup. And as we were discussing just before we hit record, Brad and Michael, you were introduced by our common friend, Brad Rogers, and it was because of your phade straws. And I see Michael wearing a nice fleece of phade. But of course, when we started doing our research, it became so exciting also because of your cup journey. So I'm going to actually ask you, each one of you, a little bit about your background. And starting with you, Michael, because I see a lot of paper making experience with GP, and that's where my background is. I saw the GP experience and I was like, I need to know more about this. So let's start with you and then move to Brad.
Very good. Well, my background for the past 40 years has been in the consumer products business. So I've always helped consumer products companies bring new products to life and to market. And my history is with Unilever for a number of years with Unilever, and then went on to the pharmaceutical business for a little while. And spent 18 years of my career with Georgia Pacific in the pulp and paper business, and helped GP to launch their consumer products business way back when. And I've had an enormous amount of fun and pleasure in helping to take WinCup into a different direction from a non-biodegradable, non-compostable space from years gone by to totally biodegradable and compostable now. So very happy to be here today and to tell you guys a little bit about the journey and maybe some of the challenges along the way.
Brad, moving to you, I see so many interesting experiences. It's like a mix of ideas with glass and shoes and frames. And how did that set you up for WinCup? And, this is a sudden move that you made from frames into cups. How did that happen? And of course, a little bit on your background as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So engineering by education and experience, right? I was a tier one engineer for a large U.S. automaker. And most of my experience has been around manufacturing and heavy manufacturing and light manufacturing and distribution. So it's a wide range of product base, but reality is it's about manufacturing, but it's also about creating new products. And that's where my experience really lended itself well to Berkshire Hathaway with Larson Jewell. I created a new business for them. And then, of course, with WinCup of operational excellence, engineering improvement, automation, all of those things came in area very handy in my previous role here at WinCup as Chief Operating Officer. And then product development, obviously the new phade products is right up my alley with the years and years of polymer science and trials and different types of manufacturing methodologies has served us well.
Yeah, it's amazing when diversity of experience comes in, and you can use things from the other spaces that you've been in the space you are in now. And I see that with both of you there. And you guys have both been with WinCup for a while. Of course, Michael with you 2007 and Brad with you 2016. So tell us individually what got you to WinCup and what has that journey been like? Maybe we start the other way, Brad, with the younger WinCup person. Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously the brand of WinCup is very instrumental and very well known in the food service industry. WinCup was going through a time of disarray, needed some operational help, needed some help to try to right the ship from an operational engineering perspective. I love fixing things. That is kind of why I went to Berkshire Hathaway, why I went to Okabashi. I love the challenge of taking something that has a very strong brand presence in the U.S. market and making it better. So that's kind of what attracted me to this opportunity. And of course, it's a private equity backed business. Obviously, coming from Berkshire Hathaway businesses, that's very attractive as well. Not necessarily from a public perspective, but from usually private equity really wants to do the right thing. They want to invest in the right things. They want to grow their companies, and that growing companies are always pretty exciting.
Over to you, Michael.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the way that I got here was I was, as I mentioned earlier, worked for Georgia Pacific for 18 years, and we sold Georgia Pacific to the Koch brothers, to Charles and David Koch. I stayed on a while to transition over to the new leadership team and management team at that company. And on my last day at Georgia Pacific, I was leaving to go home and was fortunate enough to get a phone call from a private equity firm that had just purchased WinCup, and they were looking for new leadership to take WinCup in a different direction. So that's how I ended up here about 16 years ago, and got the company off and running in the right direction. And so fortunate that we were able to find Brad back in 2016 to really take our operational excellence to new levels. So Brad and I mish and mash pretty well together in terms of strengths and weaknesses and how we pull the whole organization together to operate in a one-team environment. So it's everything that's built into our DNA is all about one team and take a never say die attitude about everything that we do.
So WinCup is going along well, making foam containers, cups from expanded polystyrene, and then we see this pivot. And of course, I can understand there are external market forces, but I'm sure there was something inside the company as well that kind of made you guys go the direction that you did. What was that pivot? What enabled that externally and internally? And whoever wants to take that question first can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take that one. So we have this crystal ball that we keep in the closet, and every once in a while we'll break it out. No, seriously, reality is that we're a very data-driven company. There's a lot of, whether it's Freedonia or Technomatics or whatnot, from showing the direction of the food service market. And at that particular point, and Michael tells the story well, there was a video of a turtle with a straw in his nose, and that video went viral. And reality is that we took it upon ourselves to solve the problem because, government wasn't going to solve the problem. The private sector wasn't going to solve the problem. It really relies on manufacturers and innovators to solve problems that exist today, especially in our business, right? In the food service business, the people going to one of the fast food chains isn't going to solve the issue. It's going to rely on the big QSRs to be the driving force. We took it one step farther and actually started to purposefully plan on cannibalizing our own business, right? So how do we transition away from traditional products or materials into something that we can be proud of, for our kids and our grandkids and their grandkids? Because the track and the trajectory that we were on was just not sustainable from a global perspective. So it didn't come without pain, right? There was a tremendous amount of work that went into the development and the trialing. You talk about Brad Rogers and our partners at Danimer. It was a painful transition, but it's worth it, right? Everything that's good is usually difficult, whether it's eating right or exercising or, in this case, solving pollution issues for our industry. It was very difficult. It is very difficult. But if we don't, folks like us, we just kind of have to put the foot forward. We're leaders of industry. These answers come from us.
I'll tell you how we look at it. I use the analogy all the time. It's like we're driving a car down the road and you're looking up in the rearview mirror and seeing everything behind you and the billions and billions and billions of units of food service products we've created over the years and sold to thousands and thousands of customers. They all served a really great purpose to be used in the disposable food service space. But what we're looking at is out of the front windshield of the car. We're not looking in the rearview mirror. As Brad said, we really are the epitome of creative destruction, right? Trying to kill everything behind us. Well, it does leave a few sleepless nights. I will tell you that, right? And as Brad said, you have to take risks. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to have a very aggressive innovation pipeline to feel comfortable enough to go do that. But that's exactly what we've done with this company, and we're very fortunate that the success in the marketplace is voting for us each and every day.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Brad. I know that you've kind of hidden it under the carpet very quickly, but I do want that crystal ball. I know there is one. Michael kind of talks about it as well by looking forward. But were you guys in straws even before the phade idea came in, or was it all cups before that?
We purchased a straw company back in 2010. It was one of the first acquisitions we did after we took the company in a different direction because we knew that would broaden our portfolio. We knew that every customer that we sold, cups to, it uses someone's straw, right? So we bought this company to get us into it. We got the asset base. We have a lot of assets, and we just started slowly working on it over the years. Is how do you take that traditional polypropylene petroleum-based product over to something that will have a natural end of life, and that's what we've done.
I'll echo that. It was interesting when the aforementioned video with the turtle with the straw up his nose became viral. We actually ordered some paper straw machines. We actually were going to go in that direction until we learned about what actually paper straws were made out of. Paper straws actually have polyvinyl acetate, which we know is Elmer's glue, like industrial size Elmer's glue. There's actually more glue in them than actually paper fiber in many cases. And the paper goes away, but the glue does not. It was a better solution, I guess, than traditional petrochemical, polypropylene, et cetera. But reality is we did not want to introduce more chemicals into the environment. So we canceled the straw machines, the paper straw machines, and then completely went in a different direction with PHA.
The other thing, Dr. Bowden from the University of Florida did a study, and he ordered 38 paper straws off the internet from various resources, and he brought them into his facility, did research on it. And out of the 38 that he purchased on the internet, 36 of them had PFAS chemical coatings on it, right? And we all know PFAS is the forever chemical that can be very carcinogenic if you get it in your system, and it will never leave your system if it gets in you. So those are the kind of things that, as we were looking forward, going, we've got to create something that's healthy, non-toxic, and not harmful to consumers that will actually go away when exposed to bacteria, which is what our phade products do.
Yeah, it's interesting that you both started inferring to paper straws because that was going to be my next question. What were the things that you explored before you zeroed in on PHA? And I have a similar experience, and you guys mentioned the chemistry of it, but also the usability of it. Kind of as good as a paper straw is, it's not the same, right? It'll kind of disintegrate a little bit, it'll become softer. Yeah, you just can't have the same kind of experience as a stiff PP-based straw. So again, you'd explored the paper straw line, and Brad, as you said, you even ordered machines. But what were the other substrates? Because PHA is relatively new in the reckoning, and you guys have been very early in the game. So I'm sure you guys explored other ideas. And what were those?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So obviously paper straws, and I'll just say paper straws. You gave very kind words. I have met one person in the last 6 years that actually like paper straws. It's a universally hated product from a performance basis across the globe, right? They get soggy, they don't work, they're expensive, and so on. So we did try paper straws. We thought about going down that route. Polylactic acid or PLA straws we also looked into. Now the problem with some of these, and there's biomaterials, there's bio-PBS, and there's BPAT, and there's different substrates that you can make like a straw out of. The difference in why we chose PHA was the end of life story, right? So polylactic acid, which is a pretty common straw. Number one, they do not do well in heat, right? They don't ship well in hot containers. They don't work in coffee, etc. And they're only industrial compostable, right? So they're only compostable where an industrial composter exists, and there's only 188 of those in the country. So the reality of a straw making it into an industrial composter waste stream is very minimal. So we decided to go with PHA because reality is that PHA disappears in every environment that contains bacteria, landfills, oceans, your garbage can, your compost pile, industrial composters, anywhere it really goes away. And the reality is that only 8% of all food service products gets recycled in the United States. 8%. That's 92% that end up in a landfill or in an ocean or a lake or the side of the road. We could have went and we were making polypropylene straws, which are completely recyclable. But the reality is that doesn't happen. It doesn't physically happen. Even in Europe, Europe does a better job than the United States on recycling. I'm not sure about Hawaii. I haven't been there either. But Europe does a great job. But they only get to 50%. So even at doing a great job on recycling, at only 50%, and how many pounds are used in food service on a yearly basis? Half of it's still ending up in a landfill or, God forbid, in our water. So this was really we were looking for the solution for pollution. We were looking for the end all, the holy grail of material that absolutely goes away no matter where it goes. And it can be recycled. We recycle this stuff all the time. We reuse it on our process and scrap rate. So it really checked all the boxes. We didn't believe it was true. We went into this. I mean, you would not believe the level of testing that we went through because, number one, we're a very ethical company. We will never, we talk to our guys all the time. We never want to be standing in front of a judge trying to defend, a situation or a claim. So we didn't launch this thing for years until we proved out. We did our biodegradation studies in the water, and we have a video on our website that shows the phade straw disappearing in the water. When that test was done, I wanted our guys to test the water. I actually had them go and test the water to make sure there was no microplastics and no esters left in the water whatsoever. So it was almost unbelievable until we saw the videos and we actually see what's being used and happening to our products when they end up in an environment like a home compost or the ocean. Was really the moment we run around the office and threw our hands in the air and jumped around because we had found that solution. It was amazing.
We call that the happy dance, right? We did the happy dance around the office when we got the results back of all of our certifications, and then, as Brad said, the water test as well. When there was nothing left in the water, we knew that we had found the next replacement for traditional petroleum-based plastics.
And we wanted to, and I'll say this too, is not everybody acts with that ethical value in the commercial market, right? For consumers, it can be very confusing because they'll see the word compostable, and then they may look at the fine print and say it's only compostable where, industrial composting facilities exist or may not exist in your area or whatever the verbiage is. We didn't want to confuse anybody. We wanted phade to be our brand, to be a trusted product that absolutely will go away in any environment. I see all kinds of different things out there. The paper used to make our straw is biodegradable. Well, yeah, but you didn't tell us the other stuff that's in there. Or industrial compostable only, and it's chunks of a fruit or a potato or an agave or something that's sitting in traditional plastic, right? It's very confusing for folks. So that's why we went out and I think we have 13 certifications on phade right now. So our customers have nothing to worry about. There's no magic carpet or curtain that you have to look behind. It's the real deal.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were speaking, Brad, that you must be such a tough boss to work for.
I'm a pain in the butt.
Check the water. Come on, guys.
I don't believe it. Check the water.
That's what happens when you come from such a strong operational background. Like my father, who was, again, a very operation-oriented guy. And I mentioned my father because I was trying to be like him for 14 years, like maybe many of us sons try to be. And I realized at one point there was no way I could hack that because, everybody in the company would say that, my father just knows where every bolt is, so, and what's lying in
Yeah.
the store. And, somebody would forget and he would say, check there. And they'll
Yeah.
find it.
You know where it's at. Yeah. Yeah.
I can see that resonating. The other one, which interestingly, I came across another straw, which was really interesting. And I don't know, this is kind of a little bit of a digression, but I don't know if you guys went that route as well. I was in Madagascar last year, and they were using reeds, and
Yeah.
and they were natural reeds grown, and they were cutting it, but it was really good, and it worked really well. And I don't know if it could be done in bulk or not, and standardized, homogeneous. Can you get that exact? The dimensions exact. But I don't know,
Yeah.
did you go that kind of natural route as well, or no, you
Oh,
stayed with industrial?
we did not. So we looked at hay straws and we looked at bamboo. In reality, bamboo takes, I think something like crazy, like 100 times longer than a phade straw to disappear, and it floats, right? So it still gets in the marine life situation. But yeah, we looked at a lot of those things, and some of our customers are very large customers, right? So they're very specific on what they're wanting from performance. They want a specific consumer experience when they use the product. So when you're using a reed straw for a milkshake and customer A today, you want to be able to have a same experience using a reed straw or another straw in the same milkshake the next time you come in. So some of those don't have the consistency or the and the other side is there's seaweed based products and there's different. But we specifically, and Danimer did this specifically on purpose, is we chose the canola plant because it actually will add to the American economy and the Canadian economy. So canola grows is a second crop, right? So you can actually grow 2 crops of canola, or you can grow a crop of corn and then a crop of canola, or so on and so forth. So it doesn't take food away from the table, and it can be planned, right? I don't know how much reeds will grow this year, or how many seaweeds will grow this year, or et cetera. But we know exactly what is being planted from a canola perspective, and how much plastic or how much polymer we can get out of that crop. A little bit more predictability on that side.
Yeah, and just to expand on that a little bit, it takes about 2 months for a canola plant to mature, right? How long does it take for a tree to mature if you're actually going to go down the fiber route? So we look at it from that perspective. The other way we look at it is, a lot of companies out there really focus on the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. And while that's really great, and we applaud everyone who does that, we think that a 4th R needs to be added, and that is replace traditional petroleum-based plastics with unique new biopolymers that actually can solve the problem long term. And that's where our PHA comes into play, and we just think that it adds one more dimension to the end of life story.
Yeah, and with your strong manufacturing background, Brad, and I'm sure Michael as well, there is also that idea of homogeneity, right? You don't want each product to be different. It has to be consistent. The customer wants that. The user experience has to be same. Also, when you want to do things at scale, if you want to set up a nice boutique kind of shop, that's okay.
Sure.
You can set up a reed shop and it's fine. There will be consumers for that, and they might get something a little bit that the dimensions may be a little different, and it's fine. But I guess it's also coming from you guys wanting to make change at scale, right?
And I think that's where we're a little different than a lot of folks out there. There's a lot of kind of mom and pop type outfits out there making products out of their garage, right? Or a one facility operation. We have 8 manufacturing facilities throughout the United States. So we're already at a lot of scale currently with a lot of different food service products, shipping hundreds and hundreds of trucks, each week to our customers.
We have to make a difference, right?
True.
If we can do this at scale, we can distribute, like Michael said, across. I think we're at 460 distribution centers now across the United States. We're actually making a difference. What we're doing is making a difference. Our view on this is, like you said, we had a pretty robust, nice, strong, traditional food service business before. We didn't have to do this, right? We wanted to do this. We simply wanted to do this. We simply wanted to invest in changing the trajectory of our industry. It wasn't a financial thing, and many companies will go into this type of development with financial goals. That wasn't our goal. We just simply wanted to change the world.
No, and and when you come with that perspective, there's a lot more you can do. The oomph is a lot higher. I'm going to switch a little bit. Of course, it's all good to say that PHA does this, PHA does that, ticks all the boxes, but I'm sure there must have been production challenges. I'm sure it doesn't flow the same way. There are these tweaks that are always needed when you introduce a new biopolymer, and then you have to compound with different products. A single, at least the little I know of biopolymers, it's not like, you can just take a pure form of a certain molecule and go with it. So how was that? How did you resolve the production challenges? Was it just that you took PHA from Danimer and you put it in the same kind of extrusion machine and it all came out fine? What was that journey like? How did that evolve?
Let me tee that one up for you, Brad, because this is a really good story, Ved. So as we were working with Danimer on this new material, again, we were like one of the pioneers in the PHA business. So our friends at Danimer told us this material was pretty young in its evolution, and it needed more work and more maturity to be able to run in our equipment and our machines, and that we may have some problems getting it to run early as we were in the process. And Brad, being the manufacturing guru that he is, he said, well, why don't you let us be the judge of that, right? So they sent us some material. And Brad went down to one of our facilities and ran the material. And at the end of the day, I called Brad and I said, well, Brad, I said, how'd it go today? And he said, well, not too good. I just about burnt the plant down today. So, Brad, I'll let you tell that story.
We had our first trial in our Jacksonville facility, and that's really where we had pioneered this process. And we actually had to evacuate the building. We actually smoked out the building.
Wow,
the whole building.
Michael wasn't joking.
And it's about 100,000 square feet with 100 team members in that facility. We actually had to bail out. But during that day, we made a straw that was about this long. It was just a tube that got stuck in a piece of equipment. And at the end of the day, we said, wow, we can make something out of this. It took us about 18 months, 23 specific trials and formulations later. I was in our Jacksonville. This is probably an off-color thing, but I was in Jacksonville so much my wife thought I had a girlfriend down there. So, but persistence won, and after the certifications, 18 months later, phade was born and was ready to go to market right in the middle of the pandemic, right in 2020. So all of those required multiple capital changes and multiple trial differences, multiple formulations, different process parameters, different mechanical parameters. Reality is we actually filed some patents early on, and just last week we received notification that one of our process patents had been approved. We'll receive the actual patent here in about a month or so. So yes, the answer was yes. It was very, very difficult. Really good folks on the Danimer side. My team was just outstanding on not giving up. It's difficult to go into a production facility that has been running, traditional products for a very long time, and they know exactly what they need to do when they get up in the morning and how to make all their machines work. And then just go tell them that, hey, everything you've ever learned in the last 50 years, forget all of it. We're going to do something completely different with our equipment and change everything around. And it's a difficult process. But if you got good people that are dedicated to, new inventions and new developments, innovation, it works out. And for us, it worked out.
So the girlfriend was called polyhydroxyl alkanate. Yeah, it's kind of a complicated name.
my plant manager down there, his name is Danny. So I told my wife my girlfriend's name was Danny.
Well, you could have used PHA as well.
Yeah, I could have used that. Yeah.
My girlfriend named
Yeah, pay. Yeah, that's true, and that's where phade comes from.
Right.
But staying with the production, do you think you've reached a stage where you get the same melt flow indexes and the production capability? What is the difference if you were to run a pure PP traditional straw versus a PHA straw in terms of productivity? How close are you now?
We're getting closer. We're always innovating and evolving, right? We're always trying to make things better, run faster, more consistent, good quality. So we're getting closer. I won't say, depending on the machine and equipment that we're using, there's different types of apparatus for making profile extrusion products. So we're getting a lot closer. We're not 100% there. We're there on part of the process. We're not there on the whole process. So it'll continue to get better, right? So we've got new formulas that are coming out right now that are improved and run a little bit faster and actually degrade even faster, which is pretty exciting. And that comes with the development and scale of the material supplier as well, right? So it's very difficult if you don't have a lot of customers. It's very difficult to pay for the innovation that it takes to get to the next level. So WinCup invested in Danimer to be able to start to buy products and start to fund development of further products, which we have. So they continue to innovate because they have sales and money and the economic advantage to do so. So I'd say we're on the cutlery, on this product here, which is PHA cutlery, we're right where traditional plastics would be. On the phade straw, I'd say we're within 10% of where traditional products would process. Where the cup itself, on the coating side of things, we're a long way away. On the cup making side of things, we're right there. We're right there.
That's very close. It's commendable that you've gotten, and I'm sure it took a lot of trial error, as you said.
Oh yeah,
compounding with different substrates. So in terms of compounding, because you don't come from the biomaterial space, that's a different set of tools again in terms of what do you mix? What is the alchemy? You need a good druid to kind of mix it all together. How did that journey happen? Coming into, you can take a PP, and of course you do numerous mixtures there as well. But what was this journey of understanding the biomaterials and making the right mix and getting in different components within that mix? How did that evolve? And did you manage to just hire somebody who knew this? Because there's not that many people out there, right?
There's not.
And how did that happen?
I'm a quick study. I'll tell you that I learned fairly quickly. Michael can attest to. I have a weird brain on my shoulders that I can pick things up fairly fast. And I'll just say that the work that Danimer has done on their side and their biochemist and bioscientist, bioengineers, has been fantastic from a partnership perspective. We know. I'll give you an example, right? So we understand crystallization, we understand melt flow, we understand specific gravity and those type of things. The Danimer side understands molecular weight and fermentation and those things. So when you put those brains together, I may not know exactly what molecular weight to get to, but I know it needs to crystallize faster, or I know that it needs to, have more melt strength at a specific temperature before it falls off. So when we got those kind of minds together, and that's really been the benefit along the way, is with our processing knowledge and their biochemistry knowledge, it works.
So I'll get to the chief revenue officer with my next question, which is around cost, which is great that, I was interested on the side of productivity because that impacts cost, if not as much, then, definitely a lot than the input material cost. So how is that working out for you, Michael, in terms of overall cost? And then let's get to pricing after that.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, the cost of this material is higher than a traditional plastic would be, whether it's polystyrene or polypropylene or PET. But the benefits are there, right? I've seen the whole pricing area over my career kind of come up to the edge and retreat multiple times from an environmental product standpoint. Anytime that you would ask consumers, are you willing to pay more for an environmental product? And they'll say yes, but they're not willing to pay a penny more for it, was kind of the experience historically until the straw and the turtle nose kind of happened. And all of a sudden, we found ourselves with consumers who have matured up, from the younger generation, the Gen X's and Gen Z's and millennials, as well as just everyone else, having a different mindset about we've got to do something to protect this world of ours so that we pass it on. And for the first time, we actually saw people starting to pay more for products than its traditional non-biodegradable, non-compostable counterpart. So I think for us, the cost and the price thing we didn't shy away from, because we knew the generation was coming. We knew those consumers who had grown up thinking so highly about environmental products were now becoming purchasing agents, right, for QSRs and distributors and retailers, and the list goes on. And they had a whole different mindset. And we knew that was coming. That's why we started positioning our company that way. So the additional cost didn't scare us, because we knew it was going to be different, and we knew the performance benefit on the backside would more than outweigh the cost in the mind of the consumer. So we've been very fortunate. There's obviously that limit in which a consumer or a customer per se will pay, but I think as long as you keep it within reason, they'll pay for it. Now, with that said, PHA is still a relatively new substrate, as you mentioned earlier, and as additional production of PHA comes online around the world, I'm sure that substrate will come down in cost, just like any market does from a commoditization standpoint.
Yeah, I'll add to that is Michael's exactly right. I'll say also that the paper alternative, remember the paper that doesn't work, it falls apart, is actually more expensive than PHA, right? So the alternative is even more money, and the performance isn't there. And I think, and I'll reference Elon Musk here, because I really do think he changed the world, or at least really put things in perspective of what the new generation is willing to do. Right? He came into the industry and selling cars for 25% more because they were eco-friendly. Before then, if Ford would have tried to sell an eco-friendly car for 25% more 20 years ago, wouldn't have happened, right? So Tesla really changed the world, or at least made us more aware of what was important to the younger generation that we're getting older and we're now in purchasing power, because they're willing to pay more for something that they perceive as better for the environment. Now, whether Tesla and battery production is better for the environment, that's probably a different story for a different time. But it's perceived as an eco-friendly, elimination of cost and gas.
You tend to read my mind, Brad. That was going to be my next question. You really have to compare it with paper straws, because like in the sense that that's been the next iteration. So you already did that. But what about staying with the PP comparison? What about the weight itself? Is that do we end up using more polymer, or is it the same, or can you actually reduce the gauge and reduce the weight, because that will also help you in profitability and cost?
Yeah, that's a good question. So unfortunately, or fortunately, this is actually an important part. So the specific gravity of traditional polypropylene is about 0.92. The specific gravity of seawater is about 1.2. The specific gravity of our PHA straws are 1.34. We're specifically designing our products to sink to the bottom of the ocean for two reasons. One, it doesn't mess with marine life. It doesn't get caught in turtles' noses. It doesn't interact or float or be an issue for birds or whatnot. Secondly, is the most bacteria lives on the bottom of the ocean. So we want to be able to put this in the area where bacteria is at its most plentiful. And so we specifically gauge for that specific gravity weight as it ends up at the bottom of the ocean. So in some cases, we can make the product. It has more, get a little scientific with you, it actually has more tensile strength, but it has less flex modulus. So in applications that don't require a tremendous amount of flex, we can actually get thinner gauge out of it versus an area that actually requires more flex because it'll actually feel stronger. Like a straw, like a non-flex straw, it's more tensile strength than flex modulus for us. So we can get a little bit thinner in some cases.
It's interesting to know. So what about straws where you have this neck, right, with the crimping? So can you do that with phade as well? And
I think I have. I know Michael has. This is one of our products that we're launching in the market right now. It's called phade Flex, which will be designed obviously for Americans with disabilities, schools, nursing homes, hospitals. They'll have the ability to have a marine biodegradable home compostable product too in a matter of weeks, right? We're launching that currently.
That's wonderful. So let's move to the customer side. How easy or difficult has it been to convince your customers, because there are significant sized customers now, which is different, right? Because their purchase isn't kind of millions of straws or something like that, and there every penny kind of counts, and the purchase manager has a voice, and his OKR is to reduce the cost and overall. So how has that been in terms of dealing with customers and adaptability there? And of course, I understand again that smaller, more boutique ones will be more amenable, but you've got some large ones there. So how did that work out?
So as Brad mentioned earlier, we launched this product in July of 2020, right during the middle of the pandemic. When hotels were shut down, airports were shut down, schools were shut down.
Perfect timing.
And we were like, we have to be crazy to do this, right? I mean, everybody shut down out there. And we kind of took a different approach, right? We took a look at it and said, this is innovation that the world has so desperately wants and needs. We're going to launch this. We don't care what really is going on in the world. Hopefully that's all going to solve itself. And so we launched. And the first few months was relatively slow. And then customers started saying, you guys are doing what again? And this product is certified for marine biodegradable, home compostable, and industrial compostable. And bacteria is what is the trigger that makes this go away. And we're like, yep, that's right. So I will tell you, we started getting early on adoption. One of the first channels that really came on board was professional sports. And quite frankly, I don't think that I really saw that one coming as quickly as it did. But we're in professional sports stadiums all across the country. Professional sports, they all have very high sustainability goals that they're trying to achieve, trying to make their stadiums a lot more sustainable. Some of them have their own composting facilities, either within the stadium or outside of the stadium within a short distance. And so our product became just kind of the poster child for somebody doing it the right way. So we were super excited to see that. Within 2 years after launch, we had hit the 1 billion straw mark. So 1 billion straws.
Wow.
1 billion
That's
straws stacked end on end will go halfway to the moon or 5 times around the earth. So you think about that. We replaced 1 billion plastic straws and or paper straws that don't work very well within the first couple of years. We're currently setting it, we're approaching the 2 billion straw mark now. And you are right, there's a lot of large QSRs that didn't jump, didn't bite quickly, but are now extremely engaged with what we're doing, and we're growing our customer base. Not only in those 460 distribution centers that Brad mentioned earlier, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of customers across the country that are currently buying our products. And usually the question that we get asked most at the customer level is, what's next? When are you coming with the next creation of phade? Which obviously we are doing with our cups and our cutlery and some of the other things that we have in the closet over here that we'll be coming out with before long.
I'll add to that the technology is pretty amazing, right? So legislation in legislative areas has also been a proponent of our product. As we've gotten 2 laws changed in Florida already that had originally banned plastic straws. The reality is that nobody wanted to use the straws that they were left with, so they just kept on using plastic straws illegally. And then so eventually we got the laws changed in Fort Myers Beach, and then this past year, we got the law changed in Key West. So the entire city of Key West now allows for certified marine biodegradable home and industrial compostable products. So that has helped us as well, because there's some of the big companies, whether it's McDonald's or Dunkin' or Starbucks, they have sustainability goals, right? They've specifically put out to the general public, this is nothing that's confidential, that we want to be plastic free by this point, or we want to be sustainable by this point, and they're running out of time because the alternative is paper or PFAS that is now banned in 11 states, intentionally added PFAS. So they're looking for something that is the answer. And of course, we're sitting there with the answer for most of them with this technology. So that's helped us. I'll be honest with that's helped us.
I was just going to say one other thing that really kind of makes us stand out and has helped us is the fact that we have all these certifications, because then that wipes out well, are these guys greenwashing? We tell our customers, if someone brings you a product and says it's sustainable or says it's compostable or biodegradable, ask them to show you the certifications and actually read the certification. So that third party syndication validation really has helped us. And we were so aggressively pursuing that early on because we knew at some point people would ask the question, right? So we set that up in advance, got all the certifications, and that certainly makes things a lot easier at the customer side when you go to start answering some of those questions that are coming your way.
I love the name that you came up with, and it's such a great wordplay, right? And in all sorts of ways, it's got the PHA, it's got the phade, it's got various other things. As I look at the name, and it's beautifully designed, very simple, straightforward, and you use a PH instead of an F. So how did that happen? How was that journey? That did it was it just like a sudden thing, or was it a branding guru that kind of created this? Tell me more about that.
Branding guru.
Yeah, you got the branding
Perfect.
guru on the phone.
Well, I will tell you, we had some really fantastic brand names picked out for this product. And we were going down the list of each and every name and the pros and the cons and the attributes and the marketing campaigns we could come up with. And when we got down to the word fade, I said, that's it. I don't want to see anything else. That's it. It's made from PHA. It fades away over time or biodegrades away over time. So it's also one syllable. So from a branding standpoint, anytime you can keep it to one syllable, you have more retention from a consumer standpoint as you're spending those marketing dollars, getting that message across to folks. And then so as we kind of finalized then on the brand name, most everything in the market that was environmentally friendly was green, right? From a branding standpoint. I did not want to go there. I said, no way. This is so unique, so different. We're going to make it different. So as we got to thinking about this is the world's first certified marine biodegradable product, we knew we wanted it to tie into the ocean element of our claims, the marine biodegradable claim. So I knew that I wanted this product to be blue, to tie into the ocean. As we're going down all of the PMS colors of blue, we had a bunch of people in a conference room and we're looking at all these colors and we're getting down through from very dark blue down to this color of blue. And when we pulled up this Caribbean blue on the screen, I looked around the room, everybody was smiling. Everybody. And I said, that's it, done. This is the color of this brand. This is a happy color. Who doesn't like looking at Caribbean blue water? And I just figured this would stand out in customers' drinks, whether it's in a nightclub or whether it's in a restaurant, whether it's in a hotel, whatever. It will look different than anything on the market. And, the rest is history. And then we came up with the tagline, blue is the new green, right? So that's part of our marketing campaign. We use it a lot. We're a horse of a different color. We're a straw of a different color. So that's what we're all about. And as we launched our paper cup, guess what we did to the inside of the cup? We made it blue. Every paper cup you see on the market is just clear on the inside, right? So we want this product to stand out.
We want our customers and end users to know they're doing something good for the environment. It needs to look different. It doesn't feel different, right? It feels like traditional polypropylene or whatnot. So without that branding and without that color, it just feels like, I have this saying, right? Don't get caught doing good. Just go ahead and, do good and let people know you're doing good. It's okay.
Yeah, and my wife is the branding guru for our work. And she says the same thing, Michael. Like, you don't want to be appearing to be. Everybody wants to show green. All the polyethylene companies will put their name now in green. Show something there, because that's what's happening around the world, and that's what is expected. So you're so right in not choosing a green color, and it's a beautiful blue. I agree. The first time I saw it, I was just like, that's just a beautiful, they've chosen a very interesting Pantone. It's just like this perfect turquoise kind of blue, which is beautiful.
It's
Michael, you were going to say something.
yes,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Now, one of our original very large customers, I won't name their name, but they're very large. Uh, as we were talking to them about this innovation, and we were talking to them about the color, um, they quickly said to me, "You know, our brand colors are X, Y, and Z. I won't mention the color, but it certainly wasn't blue, right?" And they said, "Can you make it in our brand colors?" And I said, "Why would I want to do that?" I said, "And why would you want to do that? Don't you want your consumers to notice that you're doing something different? If I make it the exact same color you are today, your consumer's not going to know, right?" It's, to Brad's point, don't get caught doing good, right? Let them know through the visual impact of that color, what the heck is that sitting in my drink? And I've never seen anything that color before sitting in people's drinks. So I think the color for us, the branding for us really clicked. I've been doing this a long time, and I've had some that are more successful than others, but this one just clicked right off the bat. So sometimes you get in the branding world, in the marketing world, I my old saying is sometimes you get really smart about brands you launch. Sometimes you get really lucky, and if you're really lucky, you get lucky and smart at the same time. And I think for us, we did have a lot of good things happen to us from a fortunate timing standpoint, as well as the incredible amount of hard work and the science that we put into this product and all the branding work. So it was kind of like a perfect storm from a branding standpoint coming together for us that consumers got it pretty doggone quickly.
It's like the Ford idea, it seems. You can have any color till it's the fade blue.
Right.
Which is also interesting. You can have a brand color, a brand Pantone, and then you use it for the products as well, which is also a very smart thing in my understanding, because then it all kind of synchronizes that the product is the same color, the brand is the same color, and it stands out than everything else. And it's not like, you can create and Brad, from our kind of production background, it's a pain to change colors in the production line. You can't produce it in bulk. You have to kind of fiddle with it. So if Michael tells us one color, it's so much
Good.
happier, right? So I think it makes so much
And I
sense.
will tell you, when we went to focus groups, when we were making our fade cups, obviously in a focus group, you've got a set of folks behind the mirror, kind of watching what happens. We were behind the mirror, watching the moderator and the group of consumers around the table, and we had the moderator pass out paper cups to everybody. And the paper cups that he handed out was a plain paper cup. It was white with no branding on it, and the inside of the cup had no color. It was just a white, plain paper cup. And so he passes those cups around to all the folks in the focus groups. And he says, "What do you think about this cup?" And everybody kind of looked at each other like, "I don't know, it's just a white paper cup, right?" And so anyway, he collected all the cups back and he set the cups down. The next stack of cups he hands out was a white paper cup, no branding, no marketing on the outside, but it was blue on the inside like this. And he passes it out to all the consumers, right? And they start looking at it, and they're looking in here and they're turning it upside down, and you could see them squeezing it and looking at it. And the moderator said, "Don't say anything. Write down what your perceptions are, or what questions you've got about this product." And so they started writing their answers down. And he went around the room, and every single person in the room said, "This cup that was blue on the inside was a lot stronger than the first cup that had been passed around." Well, truth be told, it was the exact same cup, but it was the blue, the Tiffany blue or Caribbean blue, made the premium connotation in their head as they were thinking about it, and they thought it was stronger. So he collects all those cups and he sets them down. And the other question that they had from that particular cup was, "But I don't understand why anybody would want to make the inside of a cup blue," right? So as he sets those down, then the next cup that he hands them is this cup, right? With the branding on the outside, with the marine biodegradable down here and the home industrial compostable. and he passes them out. And before the cups got all the way around to the last consumer in there, about 3 or 4 of them said, "It's marine degradable. That's why it's blue inside." So, from a marketing standpoint, it was like spot on. It connected, and they were able to tie the coloration of the branding together with the messaging.
So that actually moves me really well to these ancillary products that you're doing. Of course, you come from this long history and understanding of the cup space, and then I also see this experimentation that has happened with the bio cups. And now, Michael, you were showing me the paper cup with a PHA, presumably a PHA lining inside. So, talk to me a little more about that journey of being one of the largest foam cup manufacturers to looking at something that degrades in foam and then pivoting towards paper. How has that happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I came here a number of years ago, not long after I got here, as I started looking through the portfolio of the company, obviously quickly realized we didn't have anything that was biodegradable or compostable. And I knew that we were the second largest manufacturer in the US of foam products. So we had a lot of fantastic plants out throughout the market and a lot of equipment out there. But we needed to find a way to start our journey. And so we got some really smart PhDs, along with a lot of chemists that worked for us together in a room, and we brainstormed how can we make a quote unquote green foam cup. Because foam cups in some environmental communities don't have such a great name, right? When you look at the facts behind foam cups, in terms of using 30 to 50% less water to make than a paper cup, you look at those facts, and foam is not a bad environmental product. However, it certainly had the perception that it was. One of the things about foam products that I quickly realized not long after I got here was that the reason it has a bad perception is it floats. So when people discard of it improperly and it ends up in a waterway, it's on top of the water and it's visible. Other disposable cups are there in the water as well, but they sunk, they're on the bottom. So as we were looking at this early on in the early years and challenging our PhDs and scientists that we had come in and help us brainstorm this, we came up with a way to actually make our foam cup biodegrade. And that's the bio product that you see. It's certainly not the ultimate solution. It takes about 4 years to biodegrade, 92%. So it's not like our phade products that biodegrade in a matter of a couple months. But it was definitely a move in the right direction, as the world thought foam could never, go down or break away or break down in a landfill environment. We actually proved that it could. So that began our journey into that biodegradable space for sure.
Last year, we decided, because of what we're trying to accomplish in changing the world, that we would incur the cost and change all of our traditional foam to new biodegradable foam. So we invested.
That's a big step.
And we did that at no charge to our customers because it was the right thing to do.
But the base is still polystyrene. It's just an additive that degrades it. Because in between, I had heard of this additive which was oxy-biodegradable, and that gave it a huge bad name, right? Because that would make microparticles. Yeah. So this is an additive that actually degrades the polystyrene.
No, it's actually an additive that turns the polystyrene from hydrophobic to hydrophilic. So it actually absorbs water, and because it absorbs water, it allows enzymatic secretions on it. Enzymatic secretions is what actually starts to break down the product and biodegrade the product. So a lot different than oxy, but it's not the additive itself that's doing any of the eating. It's microbes and enzymes that are doing the work to break it down. However, there is technology, right? So you can make styrene from traditional, petrochemicals, right? Oil, easiest way. But you can also make styrene from biomass. Many people don't know that strawberries have a tremendous amount of styrene in them. People just think about styrene as being just traditional fossil fuel derived and manufactured, where reality is you can make the styrene molecule from corn waste or biomass, which we're working on different opportunities on that side as well.
Oh, that's very interesting. I haven't ever heard of that. So this is not at all becoming microparticles. It's becoming
No.
hydrophilic, absorbing water, and then it's leading. What I'm also told, two more things on the styrene side, is that it's mostly air when you make a foam. It's like, I was told even 98% air and then 2%. I don't know what the ratio is. Yeah,
I'll give you an instance. So if the state of Illinois, I'll use the state of Illinois. If the state of Illinois by itself banned foam and traded foam for either paper or plastic cups only, they would introduce 300 million pounds of landfill waste into the landfill in 1 year, because EPS, expanded polystyrene, is 3 to 5 times lighter than paper cups or plastic cups. So yeah, it's and it works better, right? It's very insulated and keeps hot drinks hot and cold drinks cold. So it's just the state of Illinois. If they banned foam, they would introduce 300 million more pounds a year of waste into landfill.
Wow, that's significant weight. And as a consumer, I can feel it, when you lift up a foam container versus another substrate. But what I'm also told is that, again, this may be coming from a place of ignorance, so educate me.
Sure.
What I'm also told is when you're putting hot substances in a polystyrene, it could presumably or possibly leach out carcinogens. Is that a reality, or it's all?
No, that is. You ever see that commercial with the internet dating, and you can't believe everything you read on the internet? That's a perfect example of that, right? It's not true. It's actually FDA has proven polystyrene to be safe at multiple uses. Now, we do not recommend and we do not condone putting polystyrene in a microwave oven. The reality has nothing to do with the heat of the liquid that's put in it whatsoever. That molecular structure does not change. There is no leaching of styrene and is not carcinogenic. That is a complete fallacy, and unfortunately, it's a rumor that obviously gives things a bad name. It really does, but it's not true scientifically.
So you were mentioning that there is work that is happening on the side of looking at new forms of styrene and that spectrum. But why not just stay with that? Why go for paper at all? What makes you think that that's also a good substrate to go into?
Because it has different uses and different values to it. So I agree that biodegradable styrene, where we are today, is better than traditional styrene. I truly believe, even if we get to plant-based styrene, which is biodegradable in a landfill environment, which is a tremendous amount of bacteria in a landfill environment, for example, that product will not go away if it ends up in the ocean. Just like a plastic cup or a polyethylene lined paper cup, it won't go away if it ends up in the ocean. Our PHA coated paper cup will absolutely biodegrade in the ocean. We have a video of it, and I think the PHA is gone in less than 2 weeks. The cellulose paper is in less than 112, 115 days. So I do believe that there's a good, better, best type of thing that we can continue to work on, and the PHA is just the best. It's the most expensive, right? It's the highest cost of the products, but it's the best.
You also talk about it a little bit, I think, in one of your videos on the website. And the other challenge that I find with paper is that you have multiple substrate. You have the paper, you have the coating, and then you need a sleeve. And you talked about the insulation properties. Are you thinking more about that? And how do you solve this multi-substrate idea and maybe look at a totally out-of-the-box idea? How's that evolving?
Yeah, we've looked at, double wall. We've looked at air gap production. We've looked at sleeve production. We've looked at, single coating, double coating, different thicknesses of cellulose, et cetera. So yeah, we've looked at a lot of those different options. I think there's markets for many of them, right? So the market today, some people prefer a paper cup. Some people prefer a foam cup. Some people prefer a plastic cup, for example. So I think the market will drive that opportunity. We want to be able to, like we talked about earlier, we're always wanting to do the right thing. What's the best thing to do? How do we progress innovation? So we're always going to look to continue to improve that. Performance-wise, if you go to a QSR and you're sitting in their restaurant in the lobby, and you order a Coca-Cola or a soft drink, right? You're going to consume that in the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes that you're sitting in their lobby in the restaurant. If you're a truck driver and you go to a gas station and you order, a 32-ounce soft drink, you're going to have that for the next 2 hours of your life in your car or truck, right? Those two vessels don't need to be the same. They don't perform the same, nor should they be the same. They have different uses. One has to last you 5 minutes without sweating all over your pants, and the other one's got to last you 2 hours without filling your cup holder with water. We've all had that, right? We've all had condensation in our cup holder that just makes a mess. So I think there's opportunity for different types of substrates and different vessel configurations for multiple uses in the United States. A hospital, right? For example, you get a nice cold glass of water in the hospital, and you're taking your nap. If that's in paper, traditionally that's a puddle and and really warm by the time you wake up, right? And if it's in foam and with a lid, traditionally it'll still have ice in it in a couple hours. Or product. I'll go to products too, Veda. Look at smoothies, right? Smoothies, as the temperature raises within the vessel, the smoothie will separate. The fruit will separate from the water. The ice will separate, and then it just becomes a bad user experience. We have, large smoothie customers that love to use our product on the foam side because that's the product they're trying to use and deliver. It just doesn't work in a plastic cup.
And what about lids? You mentioned lids in passing, Brad, and I'm sure that's its own kind of challenge because, again, it has to really close well. I've seen like paper molded lids or pulp molded lids, and that's kind of, it works and it doesn't work kind of an idea. So how are you guys doing there? Can you evolve a substrate? I see you holding up something great, and because you guys know this business so well, the cup business, that how to how tightly it should fit, and the integrity that needs to. You were mentioning the time. In terms of a cold beverage versus a hot beverage versus a tall glass, a smaller glass, and all that sort of thing. So there are numerous variables you're dealing with. How are you looking at lids, and what are the substrates that are coming to you as you're evolving that?
So we've looked at many of the things you talked about, right? So PLA, polylactic acid. I'll say this about lids as well. There's a liability side of lids that don't exist necessarily on the cup side, right? So, for example, hot coffee. We all know about the famous case where a patron went through the drive-through and had a hot coffee and she spilt it on herself and sued the restaurant chain. We all heard about that many years ago. So there's a liability piece that's very important to us. That lid fit has to be tremendous, especially in the coffee area because of obviously the danger that can come along with 200-degree coffee. We've tried several things. PHA is actually, our phade material is so far the best that there is. PLA, I'll start with paper. Paper, number one, same deal, gets soggy, or the steam makes it soggy. So after a while, it's not good. The way that you make a paper lid doesn't have the same snapping feature as a molded or thermoformed product, so the lid isn't as tight. Then, of course, the lid and the cup will expand at different temperatures and different rates, and in some case become loose. You can't take a paper lid off and put it back on. You can't do that kind of operation. So paper lids are not ideal, and they're very expensive, very slow to manufacture. On the PLA side, PLA lids are okay for, again, only industrial compostable, but they don't work in hot beverages. PLA is not a heat-stable material. It is industrial compostable, but is not a heat-stable material. So it gets soft and gooey and turns into a noodle. PHA, on the other hand, you can thermoform it. Obviously, this is a thermoformed PHA lid. This is our phade lid before we put color in it. It works on hot. It snaps well. It doesn't expand at any different rate than our regular lids. It performs just like a regular polystyrene or PET lid. It's perfect. It's a little more difficult to manufacture than a traditional lid, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Michael, do you have anything to add to the lid side or the cup side, is what we were discussing?
The lid that Brad was holding up a while ago probably can give you one guess as to what color it's going to be when we get finished with it. So it is going to be obviously our phade blue, like the rest of our campaign. And as Brad said, we've worked really hard with that substrate to make sure it's going to form very nice and tight on the cup itself. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing it out in the marketplace.
We had when we were designing our newest lid, and it's being produced or in production now. We went across the industry, and every lid that we could get from every manufacturer, every retailer, distributor, everywhere, and we measured all of them from a performance perspective and how they actually would perform on the cup. So we didn't want to make a lid we wanted to make the best lid there is out there from a fit perspective, so that obviously we want to provide a very high performing product.
The Good Garbage podcast has been brought to you by PFAS. PFAS has been creating solutions in the food packaging, carry, and service space. PFAS utilizes sugarcane residue and upcycles it into amazing products. Their latest offering is a compostable, flexible packaging solution for the chocolate and confectionery industry. The products are available in the Indian subcontinent and in North America now. PFAS is also building an end-to-end solutions for customers in the food service and delivery space. For any query, do email at connect@pakka.com, and PFAS is PAKKA. Do you have something to add to the conversation? Use hashtag GoodGarbage to add your own insights, ideas, and opinions on regenerative packaging and zero waste solutions. Now, let's get back to the conversation. Okay, just staying with the lids, Brad, you were mentioning about the pulp molded lids, for example. So you're right. There is the challenge that everybody's trying to solve in that world of undercuts, which can happen when you're doing a poly or an extrusion-based forming, where you can build undercuts and it won't come off easily. So is that something that has been an interesting struggle for you in terms of finding an alternate, or in case of PHA, I guess that's not an issue at all.
Not an issue for PHA. And then there's, of course, the molded pulp side of things, which we could go down. There's some coating challenges around molded pulp. There's different technologies coming into the market today that make that coating better than traditional PFAS types of coating. In most of those cases, traditional pulp, molded pulp is still tree-based pulp, right? We see it as a little bit different, right? It takes you 15 years to grow a tree. It takes us 2 months to grow a field, a crop of canola. That eventually we can't continue to rely on trees as they're obviously taking the CO2 out of the air, and global warming and all of the other challenges with forestation or improper forestation, etc. It just wasn't the direction that we wanted to go.
And I'm going to pivot to cutlery, because I saw you guys, Michael, you showing me some cutlery in between. And how did that, because that's again, one question is, were you guys doing it before, or is it an addition? And the second is, how is that evolving? Again, I presume you're using PHA and PHA phade blue. And I guess you mentioned in between in terms of, heat deflection and we've used PLA, for example, and you're right, like it literally kind of becomes this malleable thing which totally bends. So how's that evolution been?
We weren't producing cutlery previously, and we decided to buy a cutlery company, and for the sole purpose of taking the assets of those company and start to make PHA-based phade cutlery. So that's how we've kind of gotten into this journey of cutlery. We knew it was just a natural extension of the other products that we manufacture, obviously from a food service standpoint. Creating a broader phade family of products, we think continues to add value to consumers out there, and it adds value to us as an organization as well. Anytime you can broaden your portfolio where you don't have too many eggs in one particular basket of that portfolio, that's always a good thing.
I'll just add that we looked at different opportunities on the cutlery side as well. Obviously, wood or pressed wood cutlery is an option for us, and what we were trying to do with our brand. that isn't the consumer experience that we were looking for, right? It's like going to the doctor when you're 5 years old and got a tongue depressor in your mouth, or the little ice cream containers with the little wooden stick in them when you were a kid. It just wasn't what we were looking for. PLA wasn't the issue, wasn't an opportunity because, like you said, right, it just it doesn't perform well in hot food. So you couldn't eat chili, or you couldn't eat soup, or it wasn't strong enough when you get a good hot steak.
The other thing is PLA is a very brittle substrate. So if you take a piece of PLA cutlery and kind of bend it pretty hard, the tine will pop off pretty quickly. So
when we started to do the development of our phade cutlery, we realized that the phade cutlery was actually stronger than polypropylene cutlery. It was actually it performed better than polypropylene cutlery. And then, of course, we need to do our testing, right? It had to go into the home composting bin, and it had to go in the industrial composter, and it had to, start to go through all of the tests to be able to get its certification. So we just finished up the certifications on this product for home compostability. So it'll come to the market very soon. But yeah, it performs just like it doesn't perform like a styrene cutlery. Like styrene cutlery is very strong and whatnot, but obviously styrene cutlery is going to be around for the next 200 years in a landfill, where phade will be gone in a matter of a few months, type of thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned wood, and wood again. The issue is in terms of design. The curvature is never right. You can never pick up a liquid effectively with that. And also, I found with wood that it flattens when it's exposed to hot substances. That's the other challenge that happens. What about brittleness? Like I know, Michael, you mentioned PLA, but in PHA, is it absolutely easily bendable? And
I mean, it's hard to bend.
Yeah, but that's a pretty.
Eventually it'll break.
Yeah. No, but you went almost
all the way around,
and nobody is probably going to do that when they are eating. Of course, you can do that for play, but that's pretty strong. And is that also to do? Has that been a journey in compounding? Because I presume that you would try different substances for strength and malleability and cost and all those. How has that evolved in terms of performance?
So we're on our third or fourth version right now. We're trying to balance the mechanical capabilities of the product and the biodegradation capabilities, right? So you need to kind of weigh out how fast you want it to biodegrade and perform at the same time as the offset of performance. From a brittleness perspective, from the fork tines breaking and whatnot. So yeah, there's been several variations that we've gone through on how fast we can mold it. What are the cycle times? What is the processability? Does it stick in a mold? Does it stack well? Does all of those things have been a journey on developing. We bought the cutlery company a year ago last winter, and we have been working on developing this product ever since. We've done several different material trials and performance trials along the way. So we're just about there. Like I said, we've passed the certification side of things, and we're just in the process of kind of getting our launch materials ready to go.
So there's a funny claim in on your website, gluten-free. Why do you think that is needed? And how did that even come in? That you guys are manufacturing stuff to carry things, right? But I don't know if that's a consumer.
We've had that question. We've had that question several times.
Just in case, right? Yeah. I was actually, Brad and I both were in Las Vegas earlier this week for the bar and restaurant show, and we have a new customer in Las Vegas who has opened up a total gluten-free restaurant. And anyway, that was one of the first questions she asked me about our PHA product. Are they gluten-free? And I'm like,
Maybe people associate the canola oil. Reality is you're feeding canola oil to bacteria, right? You're not actually breaking apart the canola oil to make the product. So maybe people hear the canola oil and say, well, canola oil is made, used in making donuts, or it's close enough to wheat, or I don't know. But we've been asked that question a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
It's easy for us to tell people.
Yeah, that's so interesting because, of course, I come originally from India, and I see a lot of cows eating the stuff that is strewn away. I was wondering,
Right.
whether the cows don't want gluten. That's the only place you're never going to consume the cup or the cutlery or the straw, right? But that is
Yeah.
interesting for me to see. So, in terms of your whole product range, what is the percentage now that you would consider to be sustainable? And that could include bio and the phade range. What is it now in terms of the total play?
My guess is around 90% we've converted already. I'd say really close to 90. Yeah, pretty close to 90, 89 to 91% we've already converted to our bio products and fade products.
Wow, that's a huge shift, Brad. Good on you guys.
Thank you.
Like to because taking something which has been in the business, is a brand that is well established, and then pivoting it to something which is completely new in a way is a huge leap of faith in many ways to be able to do that. And I'm sure it took a lot of conviction to be able to do that. And was your board supportive of such a
Oh,
huge
yeah.
move? And
Yes, very much so.
internally, yeah, go ahead.
Tar Capital has been a great PE firm. Cyrus and the guys have been great supporters, huge cheerleaders of us. They ask a lot of questions, and we're open and honest with them. And of course, the results have been good. I'll be honest with you, right? We're a growing company. We're improving our performance, and we're able to invest back into the company to develop new products and buy a cutlery company, or all of those things. So the performance has been good. If it wasn't good, We'd probably get a lot more questions. But yeah, they've been hugely supportive of us. The first couple meetings, right, is you want to do what? You want to cannibalize? Oh, wait a minute. And so
Creatively destruct what?
yeah, creatively destruct our own business. Well, yeah, so there was some convincing that had to happen early on, but once we told them what we were doing and why we're doing it, they jumped on board and have been hugely supportive of what we're doing.
I was just say one of our core competencies is tell the truth as fast as you can, right? And we have that plastered all over our building. So with our board, we tell them the truth as fast as we can, and most everything that we've said we're going to do, we've been able to accomplish. And as Brad said, the results have been good. So that certainly helps with any ownership group, and they're definitely a super supportive ownership group and a Tar Capital.
Yeah.
They're a great
I
company.
think that's in general a good idea for life, right? That you don't, because one lie leads to another, and then you have to hide
That's
stuff
right.
all over the map and cover
Yeah,
things up, and you don't
we're
have to
way.
do that if you told truth to start with.
That's right. We're way too busy to keep up with lies.
Exactly. Yeah. So taking it towards closure, how are you seeing the future in terms of scaling? So you onto a good thing. That's clear. You've clearly taken the bull by its horn. Even if it's more expensive, you haven't shied away from it. You've said that we're going to do this no matter what. And in terms of, and you're doing kind of various areas. It's beverage and now food in terms of cutlery. So how do you see scale? Say, let's take a 5-year horizon, and how do you foresee WinCup growing in the next 5 years in terms of these products or additional products that you might bring in?
The sky's the limit, right? So I'll tell you a story about this little guy right here. People are using fade technology for new things. We really are changing the world around food service and, using the right thing or doing the right thing for the environment. And off the coast of Florida, they typically would plant this piece of coral on this disc, and the fish off the coast would bite the coral, and it had a 40% chance of survival. So this PhD student in Florida, Kyle, he actually took our straws and put them in a circle around the coral, and then puts this in the ocean because corals are dying, right? They have the transplant corals for disease and so on. So now the fish can't get at the coral. And then by the time the fade straws disappear in the ocean, the coral is large enough, strong enough, and the fish have become used to it. So it improved the success rate to over 90%. And the survival rate. So why I'm telling you that story is I really do not see a limit to this type of product or expansion from a WinCup perspective. We're currently now producing. We've been traditionally a foam cup company. Now we're producing paper cups. We're producing PHA straws. We're producing. We have the opportunity for producing other coated paper products, clamshells, extrusions, thermoforming. There's nothing, or even what we call coral forts, right? I mean, there's nothing limiting us to utilizing this technology with our experience with this product. Michael says this best, right? We have the most valuable thing in the world to us right now, and it's not phade. It's actually our customer access. We have the biggest customers in the world. We have, Michael talked about sports arenas and QSRs and gas stations. I mean, the biggest names that you can think of is currently WinCup's customers, and they all have sustainability goals, and people inherently want to do the right thing for the earth. They do, but you just got to make it easy for them. And I think we've done that. We've made it really easy for them to choose to do the right thing because they don't have to sacrifice performance or et cetera down the road. I don't know, Michael, would you add anything to that?
Pick that coral fort back up and put it back in front of the camera just for a second, because I will tell you how I explain this, right? This is unintended consequences of innovation, right? We did not go out to try to invent this product right here. We went out to give the world a much better experience in the straw category, which we did. And validation comes in many, many ways. And when a coral restoration company calls us and says, by the way, you should know we've been using your product to help restore coral reefs. And Brad and I look at each other and say, what did he just say? But it's really cool, right? That's the best form of validation. And I will tell you that this coral reef company was also the first to say, we didn't believe your product would actually go away. As a matter of fact, after we started testing it, your products actually go away too quickly. Can you make us a little bit thicker straw? So it will slow down just a little bit to give the baby coral a little bit more time to strengthen and be able to fend off the parrotfish. So validation, like I said, comes in many, many ways. Customer validation, employee retention validation. That's the other thing. As we continue to improve the company and come with new products, our employee retention rates have gotten a lot better. So there's so many things that people get excited about. People like to work for companies that are on the move, and we definitely feel like we're doing the right things. We're on the move. Who doesn't like hopefully working for somebody that's making a difference in the world and doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So we know if we do that each and every day, that we will get rewarded from customers, because customers are smart. They see that. They see the companies out there that are really spending their R&D in the right areas versus just cutting costs on a traditional product line they're selling. Brad and I spend an enormous time each and every day thinking about what's next, right? So anyway, kind of how we run the business.
And there's more things coming, right? There's some things that we can't share with you from a development perspective, but I will tell you that the cupboards are full of ideas that we know what and what's coming down the road for sure.
Oh, that's wonderful, and this is definitely, you can some of the digressions you can imagine, but a coral saving through straws, I'm sure nobody would have imagined that. And thank goodness the fishes don't like gluten-free,
That's right. That's exactly right.
They're not biting into the straws, at least for some reason, that this is really yummy stuff, and I'm going to eat the material itself. So at least that is not happening, which is great.
And we've proven that you can. We've proven through marine studies that you can actually eat PHA, and it actually promotes gut health. It actually creates healthy bacteria in the stomach. So, and lo and behold, who knew?
That's a future advertisement for you right there.
That's right.
With all the gut health ideas coming up, you've got one more. If it does leach, by the way, it does not leach, but if it does, it's actually good for you.
That's right.
You might digest better. So, Michael, I'm going to push you a little bit on the last question on the scaling. Do you have specific percentage growth or numbers or something in mind in terms of vision that 5 years hence, do you both think that, we want to be this much bigger or something like that. Is that something that you guys have dreamt up already, knowing the kind of specificity that you go in? I'm sure it's out there. Whether you want to share or not, it's on you.
Well, it's easily doubling the company. Let's just leave it there. How's that?
Great. Good to hear. And that takes me to my final question, which is to each one of you, what does good garbage mean to you? Brad, we start with you.
Good garbage. Good garbage, I would say, is garbage that you throw away and you go back in a month and it's not there anymore. Or good garbage is something that doesn't impact the environment, whether it's taking up space in a landfill, wrapping around a bird's neck on a beach, sitting in a turtle's nose, or, being persistent and taking energy to biodegrade in an industrial composter, right? So to me, good garbage doesn't affect the environment. It doesn't affect our lives negatively, and it doesn't affect the lives of marine life, fowl life, mammal life, et cetera, around the planet.
Michael?
I would say good garbage is something that doesn't require consumers to have to dispose of it in a certain way, right? Because when you rely on consumers to actually recycle or put things in a composting bin or whatever, we know the chances of success of that are less than ideal. And good garbage that goes away no matter where it ends up because of how it's made and what it's made with, that's kind of the ideal situation. Nobody wants pollution, right? We are trying to be the solution for pollution, as Brad mentioned earlier. But we all know that there's going to be pollution out there as long as there's humans out there. We just have to find a way to limit that. The other thing that we think about is we don't like for products to be banned. What we do like is manufacturers to be challenged to make better products so that bans are not necessary. So at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. And I guess that would be my answer to good garbage. Good question, though.
That's a good question.
I haven't been asked that question before. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. And Michael, if you didn't know this already, you come up with taglines without knowing them. I just noted down solution for pollution. So, blue is the new green. So it's amazing. And it has been such a delightful conversation, Brad and Michael. Thank you so much for the work you're doing more than anything else. And, these ideas flowing. And I think it's such an amazing combination that you both have. And I'm sure there are many more in WinCup that are teaming up with you to do this. But it's just wonderful to see the detail that you guys go through. And, I keep thinking about, Brad, your idea of, was the water okay? So it's that kind of detail. And you mentioned again when you were testing about on the seawater and things like that, which is really, really refreshing to hear, because that gives the devil is always in the detail. So this has been an amazing learning session for me. So thank you both for joining in. Thank you for the work you're doing, and I wish you nothing more than huge success. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Fed.
Thank you for listening to the Good Garbage Podcast. Follow us on social media to never miss an episode. Links are in the description below. I'm your host, Ved Krishna. See you next time.